Well, hi there, Andrew Bell coming to you from a very warm Gold Coast. It was a quick switch from a mild winter to a very warm summer. Thank heavens we enjoy some great coastal sea breezes. First up today, there's been quite a bit of information that's come through over the past week or so that all bodes well for the real estate market. One of the 5 fundamentals of real estate is employment or unemployment. Nationally, we've now hit a 6-year low in unemployment at just 5%. This is where most economists agree is what we would describe as full employment. As I think we all know, there's a percentage of the population who'll never work, don't want to work. And so once we get around the 5% unemployed, it's pretty much regarded as full employment. Of great significance amongst those figures is that manufacturing jobs are experiencing resurgence. Employment in manufacturing has declined steadily for the past 40 years, falling from 1.38 million jobs in 1973 to just 870,000 at the end of 2017. However, strong growth in the year to August 18 has seen that figure jump past 956,000. It's great to see us back producing goods and not just providing services. A very positive recovery in the vital sector of the economy. Now on that topic, it's amazing how the Gold Coast is faring, with unemployment rate hovering around 4.4%, and it's been at that level now for some 3 months. Who would ever have thought that the Gold Coast would outdo the country nationally in the space of unemployment, when everyone thought the Gold Coast was where people who didn't want to work come to live. In fact, we've been ahead of the national unemployment level for quite some time. Congratulations, Gold Coast. It is acknowledged that wages growth is a lagging contributor, not only to our national economy, but to support the real estate market. It hasn't ticked up significantly, but as we hit full employment, it will be an inevitable byproduct. There are signs of it in some segments of the economy, so we'll keep an eye out for that occurring on a broader base. Now, second point, we've certainly had the double-edged sword in housing approval numbers, which encompasses both detached housing and apartments. There's a significant decline in the rolling pipeline of units completed, under construction, in marketing, approved or submitted for approval. Now, there is a definite positive in this, and that is any concerns people may have had about an oversupply of new developments causing an imbalance in the supply and demand equation will be hosed down. We have to remember that nationally 18% of every approval over the past 30 odd years has never proceeded to construction. I'd suggest that currently with a massive clampdown on bank finance, that number could be floating more at 50%. This means that an ever-increasing percentage of housing demand will be forced back into the resale market with less choice in new construction because of the lack of availability. The negative side is housing construction plays a significant role in our economy, creating jobs, and so we hope that any slowdown is modest and not significant. Now, my third point today is on inflation. Our Reserve Bank has a target range for inflation at 2 to 3% annually. Below 2%, there's a raft of ramifications, such as putting the brakes on economic growth, which is a knock-on effect to employment and wages growth and so on. The upside of inflation is that there is a fairly balanced economy without the upward pressures of interest rates. Talking on interest rates, we don't expect to see any particular rise for some time now, because the figures from the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that the inflation just lifted 0.4% in the September quarter, and this brought headline CPI growth for the year to September to 1.9%, although it was down from 2.1 in the year to June. And that's largely because of a decline in healthcare costs, believe it or not. However, we are hovering around the bottom end of the target range. Interestingly, the annual rate of inflation in housing costs moderated to 1.6% from over 3% in the June quarter. That's a healthy thing. Whilst the recovery in the annual core inflation from our lows of 1.4 at the end of 2016 has been painfully slow, it's actually the reason why our interest rates have remained at record lows. Everything suggests we won't see the RBA wanting to increase interest rates anytime soon. And any increases we do see will actually be a result of banks borrowing costs overseas to provide borrowing needs for the Australian population. Some pretty good news that certainly went under the radar screen for most people, as good news often does. My guess is that the old story of whether you see a glass half full or half empty is the case here. Well, that's it for this fortnight. I'm going to have a fascinating story to share with you next report in 2 weeks' time. Until then, stay safe. Let's be a little kind to one another in a world that does have quite a bit of conflict at present.